I'm Robert Griffin, RCRedBaron for HobbyKing, and welcome to another installment of How to Do 3D. I'm standing here once again with professional pilot Michael Wargo, Precision Aerobatics team pilot. Michael, what are we doing today?
Today we're going to be discussing the Harrier. By definition, the Harrier is a maneuver where the plane is at a very high angle of attack and it's stalled. And it's flying by holding a lot of the weight of the airplane on the propeller. And as you can see, the elevator is fairly highly deflected, and we're going to be flying at very, very slow speeds. Let's see how it looks. Well, the first thing we're going to do is show some iterations of the Harrier. This is a Harrier. The airplane is completely stalled, and as you can see, with this very large airframe and very large wing area, this plane Harrier is very, very, very easy. We have a little wind, so it's staying up even slower. And what we're trying to do is keep the plane flying with the nose high. You can turn right, you can turn left, you can slow down, you can fly a little slower, you can dip the tail, you can do a lot of things with this particular maneuver. The most important reason we're going over the Harrier today, and so early in the series, is because the Harrier is the basis for a lot of maneuvers, like the Harrier roll. This is a roll at stalled speed. It's also the basis for another move we're going to go over today, which is an elevator. I am Harriering this thing, just leaving a little less throttle until it gets close to the ground. What we need to understand here is how the Harrier works. First thing you're going to notice here is that the elevator is fully deflected. Absolutely fully deflected, and I have no power. Now I'm going to use the proper ratio of the two to arrest the sink. Now at this point I have probably 25, maybe 30% elevator. Careful that not too much throttle to get the nose too high. Make the nose as high as I want it and fly it around. And this is basically a Harrier. As you can see, in order to steer around in circles, I'm using nothing but rudder. Although there are occasions that you have to mix in a little bit of aileron to make it a little more dramatic or a little tighter. For the most part, I'm only steering with the rudder. I'm steering right and then left. Again, you're going to see a lot of maneuvers that really benefit from starting in this Harrier configuration. It really is the key, in my opinion, to learning how to control the plane in a tight area. And as you can see, the altitude is very nicely controllable. This thing is staying just inches from the ground. Okay. So what we're going to discuss now is the most common mistake people make when they're trying to do a Harrier. Basically, and the ratio of elevator and throttle is the most important element. Because if I have too much elevator, as soon as I apply the throttle, it goes right up into a hover. So basically, you have to watch the plane and relax the elevator until the nose gets where you want. And as you're adding throttle, you're going to have to relax it even more. As you can see here, as it's falling, the elevator is fully deflected. As I add throttle, the sink rate is arrested. But if I have too much elevator, the nose is popping up and it's getting difficult to control. So what we want to do is, as you're falling and as you watch the plane reacting to your inputs, simply adjust the amount of elevator and the amount of throttle to suit. You notice I relaxed the elevator quite a bit. I only have probably 20% elevator right now, and it's still in a nice Harrier configuration. The plane is almost stopped. If I want to fall, I'm relaxing the throttle. I'm going to stop, I'm going to give it a little more, and then I'm going to relax the elevator a little bit. And again, this is a great combination of two sticks. And it can't be done any other way. You can't just use one flight control to control this maneuver. But it's a great maneuver to have some fun with. Just practice tearing it around the field and flying in circles and figure eights. And the better you get at this, the better you'll be at 3D. This is a maneuver that I would recommend that everybody practice a lot, because I don't think there's any maneuver in 3D that you'll use as much as this. My favorite way to transition into a hover is with the use of the Harrier. Let me demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate how I get into a hover using the Harrier. It's definitely my favorite part of this maneuver. We're going to just add throttle and a little elevator, and as we start getting to where we're going to pull up, we pull up at any altitude that we choose, which is right there. A lot of people, when they try and get up into a hover, which of course we're going to cover at length at some other point, is they pull up and then start adding some throttle, which you can see this plane is 30 feet in the air. But if you do it with a Harrier, it's a whole different situation, because now we're very much controlling where this plane is and how high it is. And we're pulling up so gently that we can basically just keep the plane in exactly the spot that it is when we pull up. So I can decide, well, I'm going to go ahead and pull up right now. And you notice I didn't gain any altitude. Another great use of the Harrier, which is my favorite, is this is a tip that everybody's going to be able to use whether you like 3D or not. And that is, the Harrier is actually a good lesson on learning how to land. Because most RC pilots like to just glide it in just like this and coast it in for a landing, but that isn't necessarily correct. Whenever you see larger scale airplanes, especially jets, fly and land, what you're going to see is they come in with the nose high, just like a full scale airplane with power, just like a Harrier. Instead of a very shallow descent, we're going to descend sharply, but we're going to cleverly use the throttle and keep the nose up in the air and add more throttle so we can put it down as softly as we want.
All right, Michael, fantastic. Great stuff, great stuff. All right, so stay tuned next time when we're going to be discussing what, Mike?
We're going to be learning how to do a waterfall and flat spins next week.
All right, so that was Michael Wargo, team pilot for Precision Aerobatics, showing us today how to do the Harrier. Now stay tuned next time when Michael shows us how to do waterfalls and flat spins. I'm your host, Robert Griffin, RCRedBaron for HobbyKing. Stay tuned and we'll see you next time.